Hello to everyone who may or may not be here. Welcome back to the stream where we play non-violent games, games that reward the player for intellectual and or emotional engagement rather than for combat or other kind of violent gameplay loops. Hello Bardock! Welcome! Thank you for being here. It's great to see ya. And, yeah, so let's see. So, where were we? We were at the Waxworks Museum. And this is a French woman, so I tried to very quickly learn. So, what are we doing here? I know this is part of the prequel trilogy of Ace Attorney, but, like, I have no idea what happens in these games. Okay, so, let's see how much I can condense for you. First of all, it's not a trilogy, it's more of a duology. 2 games. Second of all, so, it's, it's mostly very similar to the Ace Attorney games that are common, you know, the mainline ones. There's some different, like, gameplay stuff. There's some different, like, characters. Obviously, there's different characters because it takes place, like, 100 years before or whatever. Is it just 100 years? I don't know. Anyways, it's a long time before. Point is, we've also got, like, Sherlock Holmes, but it's Herlock Sholmes, and he's kind of a nuisance. But also, like, he's not, he is a great detective, but, like, his observational skills are really good, but his conclusions tend to need work, so, we tend to help him, like, sort of hone his conclusions. I thought Spirit of Justice was bad at making their puns subtle. I mean, first of all, it's worth noting that they have no obligation to make them subtle. But also, Herlock Sholmes is, like, I think he was actually designed to be a version of Sherlock Holmes, but for copyright reasons, they made him Herlock Sholmes. But anyways, it's not like... But yeah, then we've also got Tuspels, who's, you know, dressed like a witch and whatever. But, like, come on, Bardock. The pun names are fun. They don't have to be subtle. They're ridiculous, just like the rest of the AA games. Not AA. Ace Attorney. No one calls them AA games. Oh, you kind of love it. Oh, I thought you were complaining about it. Sorry. Okay, my apologies. But yeah, I love just how blatant they can get with the puns. But Herlock Sholmes is not a pun name. It's a yeah, it's not a pun name per se. Hold on, I'm just gonna adjust the timers a little bit because that's going pretty quickly. Okay, let's see. Although I noticed that they did become a lot less subtle and apologetic starting in Spirit of Justice, like a lot less politician. So, and I have to get started on the game soon, but, like, have you ever played the the crossover with Professor Layton. Because one of the first characters we meet in that game, and I believe that was a game that came out before Spirit of Justice, although I'm not positive. It was really, really good. It is a ride, man. It is a ride. But what I was gonna say is one of the first characters we meet is a guy named Harebrayne Accidente, and the first thing he does is to get into a car accident. And that's, like... Like, there's a lot of bullshit in these names, and I love it. Yeah. Yeah. Carmine Accidente, and he gets into a car accident. Yeah. Like, there's some great bullshit. Like, there's some wonderful bullshit. I love it. I mean, you know... That's one of the things that you just love about the Ace Attorney games, is they're just so unashamed about the crap that they pull. I love that, you know? Hold on, I want to change this briefly. Sorry, a lot of these are just going very quickly, the timers, and I'm adjusting them briefly. Okay, there we go. Hey, sir! Okay, I should get started now. Okay, so... You're great... Oh, I do wonder why these modern games don't have full voice acting, though. Oh, this BGM feels a lot like Castlevania to Undertale, and I love it. So, Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright actually has a lot more voice acting than any of the mainline Grace, or even this Grace, Ace Attorney game. That game has a surprising amount of voice acting. Yeah. But hey, on the bright side, because there's no voice acting in this one, it means I can do all the voices, which has been a lot of fun. So... And I do all the voices. Every single one! And speaking of... Your great deduction was even more enchanting than I had been led to believe. It was a pleasure, my dear madam. I'm gratified that you enjoyed the spectacle. And as for your rough customer, I've no doubt he'll regain consciousness shortly and return home. What concerns me more is the waxwork from the special display, if it was indeed genuinely abducted. Yes, tragically it was. Then I would ask you to recount us to the events surrounding the stolen waxwork, in as much detail as possible, if you please. Very well, very well. But after I have told you what I know, I must insist that you return to your work. The talents of a great detective could be put to better use, I feel, but as you wish. Tell us more about the stolen waxwork, please. It was some days ago now. It was some days ago now when I came in here one morning. I'm so bad at a French accent. Wow, I'm just really bad at this, but I'm doing my best. It was some days ago now when I came in here one morning. I immediately noticed that a waxwork was missing from the special exhibit here. I'm so bad at this. One thing I learned from these games very quickly is that you should not only listen to what people say, but also how they say it and what they look like saying it. Also, don't beat yourself up trying to mimic French. Trying to mimic accents like French is a pain. No, I know that, but it's still just like it doesn't stop the fact that it's a part. And I apologize to all French people. It is your most prominent display. So, it is your most prominent display. So, that's why the curtains were closed. And I found the ransom note in its place. The culprit must have broken in during the night and taken it then. So, this waxwork was stolen. It was a model of some horrible criminal, I suppose? Of a particularly horrible criminal, in fact. The killer who left a more profound scar on society than any other, I would say. The professor. And this woman is definitely a good reason why you should pay attention to how they say the things they do. I do not trust her. Not a name I've heard of. So, Mr. Nardo, it seems the circle is complete. Sorry? The professor case happened at around the time I was born, didn't it? Indeed it did, Iris. 10 years ago. A series of murders that rocked the capital. 10 years ago? Yes, at exactly the time that Baron Venzix graduated from university, in fact. What? Surely he's not saying... So the big event that changed Mr. Reaper's life... As you surmised. It was the Professor case. Who was this professor, then? Oh god, they actually have someone in their Japanese name in a localized Ace Attorney game? Cool. Yeah, so the thing is, Bardock, that this game actually has, like, Japan in it. It's not Japanifornia. One of the reasons this game took so long to localize, is that, yeah, Sarah's correct. This character, Ryanosuke, is visiting from Japan, visiting England from Japan. So yeah, it's not the Japanifornia thing. It's yeah, it's actual Japan, actual England. Well, I mean, as actual as you can get in an Ace Attorney game, but you know what I mean. Okay, so, who was this professor then? It was a series of gruesome murders that had all of London gripped in terror a decade ago. After After 5 victims were killed, the man was arrested, and put to death. Imagine if the first case of the first game hadn't had a time zone puzzle in it. Japanifornia never would have happened. Hate to be that guy, by the way, but I think it's pronounced Ryunosuke? Sorry, I'm very stingy about Japanese name pronunciations. That's what anime does to you. Well, I've been pronouncing it Ryunosuke for, like, literally months now. So I think I'm gonna stick with that, as wrong as it may be. Like, literal months. Like, yeah, it's been a long time. I pronounce it that way through the entirety of the first game, which was months in and of itself. So, I don't think I'm changing it now. Besides, who am I to bitch about getting pronunciations wrong? I don't know. I mean, you are a person who can do that, like, technically. So, like, but I don't know. Anyways, and now he's immortalized here in wax for all others to admire and enjoy. Though, of course, he happens to be absent at present on account of the abduction. But I don't understand. How is all this related to Lord Van Zieks? You must first understand, my dear fellow, why it is that the Professor earned such infamy. It was due to the victims he chose, some of Whitehall's finest. What do you mean, Hurley? Those murdered by the Professor were some of the highest members of the British aristocracy. Members of the nobility, even royalty. It sent shockwaves to the country's administration. Members of the... Oh, wait! Of course! What Professor Harebrayne said. Lord Van Zieks is from a family with noble blood. Oh, gosh! It was the fifth victim that led to the Professor's arrest. The last of the killer's prey was a young noble by the name of... Clint Van Zieks. No. I don't believe it. Van Zieks? I'm sure you could piece together the rest for yourself. In the wake of his older brother's murder, young Barak pursued a career as a prosecutor, and eventually became the Reaper we know today. I had no idea Lord Van Zieks had such a tragic past. Let's see. I mean, Simon from Gurren Lagann is pronounced Seaman, but I see how you normally say the name Simon. But I say it how you normally say it. Yeah, well. Noble Blood, I know this takes place back in the past. I mean, there's technically still Noble Blood today. Like, if you are... Well, yeah, anyways, whatever. But yeah, it's... You know, this is a time of, This is like the 1800s, I think? Right? Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong. 1800s? Well, I'm afraid that's all I could say on the matter. Oops! I don't know why I just dropped my controller. But I'm afraid that's all I could say on the matter. For the time being, at least. Because wasn't it around this time when Noble Blood was starting to get more redundant? Like, not as necessary to rule the country anymore? Sorry, Bardock. Yeah, sorry, I dropped the controller and it sort of clattered. I don't know exactly. I don't know all the timeline stuff, frankly. I don't know. But you know, I mean, you know, while the royal family are more like figureheads these days, like they're like it's still a thing and only royals can be, you know, royals these days, so it's not like in England it's not that it's like it's gone completely away. So I guess it makes sense that it was still certainly around in the 1800s. Actually, if this takes place in the 1800s England, the noble family might still be very important. Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know. After all, I have work to do. As a waxwork exhibit. Not so much in France, though. Thank Robespierre and his guillotines for that one. I am afraid I shall have to excuse myself as well. Oh, yes, of course. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Well, none of the predicted scenarios I've been analyzing involved you coming to visit me. Oh, who's this? Well, oh, Harebrayne. Professor Harebrayne. Let's see. I need to bring up the voice I gave Harebrayne. This woman looks like someone from My Witch Academia, I swear. I'll explain more about it after the stream, but damn, the similarities are a bit striking. By the way, yeah, in terms of, like, blatant puns and stuff, this scientist whose invention blew up is literally called Harebrayne. Yeah, it's not subtle. And I love it. So it must be possible using it. It's, okay, so... Well, none of the predicted scenarios I've been analyzing involved you coming to visit me. Why am I so slow in getting jokes? It doesn't really matter, it's okay, you know? It's been too long, it really has. I'm delighted to see you, Barak. It's been 10 years, and here we are meeting in a prison of all places. I can't forgive myself for what happened to Miss Asmund. I just can't. I still can't believe it could happen. His actual hair makes the pun even better. True. Tomorrow, the court will decide. Yes! I have a young Eastern man acting for my defense. He seems reliable enough, though. It was an accident. A terrible accident. He assures me he can prove it. I must warn you. Oh, I know. I've heard already. You're going to be prosecuted, aren't you? Yes. Since I returned to England, I've heard lots of stories. Derek, are you really? What? Ah, never mind. I know that you have my best interest at heart. Wait, this guy is our opponent? Yeah, and he has been in almost every single trial. My friend is on trial. I wouldn't entrust it to anybody else. Of course! I fully understand! Thank you, Barak. Until tomorrow, then. I'll see you in court. Nah, he was just visiting Harebrayne in jail, because they went to university together, which of course here in America we'd call college, but in England they call it university. 23rd of October, 8:52 a.m., the Old Bailey, Defendant's Antechamber. I can't believe it's been 6 months since I was last allowed to work in court. And now here I am, back at the Old Bailey. Ah, Miss Una, hello! Good morning, Professor Harebrayne. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. The atmospheric pressure in here is off the charts. I've never felt anything like it. It's crushing me. I feel it every time I'm here. That gravity. Well, this is Britain's highest court. But all you're telling me it's fitted with some kind of device that can actually control air pressure? I think it's probably all in the mind. Ah, yes! Well, you won't let me down, will you, Mr. Harlow? I'm counting on you in today's trial to save my life, to save the secret of my super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine from being made public. Yes, I understand. I know what I have to do. I have to establish that the explosion 2 days ago was nothing more than an unfortunate accident. Well, I'm sure there's nothing to worry about, really. Justice will prevail. My commiserations, Mr. Harlow. You appear to have... Oh, wait, who's this? My commiserations, Mr. Harlow. You appear to have been lumbered with the most tiresome case here. Here in Brazil, we call it faculty. Faculdade. But there are times where we call it university, or universidade. Brazilian Portuguese is weird. Yeah. Yeah, Sholmes is a lot of fun. He's like, just pure chaos. And I love it. It's a lot of fun. He's the exact kind of person that I love as a character and would never, ever, ever, ever want to meet. That was very mean, Bruno, leaving me alone at home with Hurley. It took me at least an hour to wake him. I know you probably know this already, but Ryu is is Japanese for dragon, so the main character's name literally has dragon on his name. That is awesome. Oh, that is cool. I didn't know that. And yes, Sarah, are you agreeing with me that he's the exact kind of character you love but would never, ever, ever, ever want to meet? Or are you agreeing with Bardock? Looks like you're agreeing with Bardock then, about the dragon in the name. Got it. Cool. That's cool. That's cool information. Is it, are you? Hillark Sholmes! Indeed, sir. I'm he. Hillark Sholmes! Oh, I've heard all about your ex-boys, even whilst living in Germany! Ah, yes. Rand's magazine is on sale in Germany, too. This month's installment was sublime! Your deduction in The Adventure of Silver Blaze was wonderful! Wait, I thought Phoenix in Japanese was Hoyo, Futenchu, but yes, I'm without it. Yes, a memorable case indeed. This Harlock guy, great dude. Do not want to know him. Naruto Raichi is Phoenix. Got it. Okay. Ah yes, a memorable case indeed. It concerned a snake, as I seem to recall. No, that was the Speckled Band. Well, thank you for coming. I do appreciate your support. Lol, yeah, keep a significant distance between you and Sholmes at all times. Okay. Sorry to disappoint you, my dear fellow, but I'm afraid I can't stay. Oh. I have urgent business at Madame Tuspel's. You mean your waxwork job? No, the waxwork abduction, of course. Madame has engaged my services. Ah, so you're trying to get to the bottom of that ransom note, are you? The week's wages depend on it, as does the safe return of the waxwork, naturally. As such, I intend to give it my undivided attention. Oh, well, never mind then. I understand. Of course, with my skills of observation and reasoning, resolving the matter will be as easy as proverbial pie. I shall return forthwith. For until I solve the case, I shall have no money to afford a pie of any description. Oh, then you must absolutely give it your full attention, Hurley. Quite, Iris, quite. But life is riddled with irony, you know. Whenever I give something my full attention, I have a quite insatiable desire for a pie. One of the universe's intractable mysteries, you might say. Oh, yes, quite definitely, absolutely, I totally understand. Is someone a little starstruck? I wish you the very best of luck, Professor Harebrayne. Why, thank you! I mean, he's not wrong. Life is stuffed to the brim with irony. True. Before I disembark, Mr. Dado, a word in your ear, if you please. What's this about? As you are remarkably little grounded in science, I feel I ought to inform you. As compelling as this super high voltage instantaneous kinesis hypothesis may be, a practical implementation such as what's attempted by the professor at the Great Exhibition is quite impossible. But the professor said the demonstration was a success. Yes, it would appear that he fervently believes it was. I've read Professor Bunnybrand. I love that she calls him Bunnybrain, even though that's obviously not his name. It's a repeated thing she's done now, so it has to be intentional in some way. I don't know why, but it's funny. I've read Professor Bunnybrand's paper about it too, Runo, and I have to say, I'm sure it can't be done. It could barely be done theoretically, let alone practically. So he's completely barking up the wrong tree? But how could an experiment that had no possibility of succeeding in fact succeed? That's contradictory. And it's that contradiction that will be at the heart of the trial, I've no doubt. What's that supposed to mean? Now, I must hurry along. I wish you all the best of luck, dear fellow. See you later, Hurley. Well, it looks like you're on your own today, Runo. But chin up, you could do it. Oh, what about you, Iris? Oh, no, I'm afraid I can't help. I have something I need to do. I see. It's going to be a big surprise for you when you find out what it is. That sounds ominous.
Counsel for the defense and the defendant. Court is about to be in session. Make sure you make your way into the courtroom at once.
We're on our way. An experiment the laws of science say can't possibly succeed, and a scientist who's convinced that it did. That's the riddle you have to unlock here, Inosuke. That's the key to this case. I like that guard's mustache. It's a good mustache. There are several really good mustaches in this game. 23rd of October, 9:10 a.m., the Old Bailey Courtroom. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are sitting today for the public trial of Professor Albert Harebrayne. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. Respect the mustache gains of Ace Attorney. The prosecution is ready. The defense is ready, my lord. I'm 6 months out of practice, and what's more, I'm without Susato-san today. Oh, hello, Cat Dracula. Yeah, well, he's clearly meant to model that. Is it just my imagination, or does the air in here feel even more oppressive than usual? So, I must say, I recollect the victim of this case all too well, Mr. Odie Asman. Mr. Asman was well known as a financier, though that was merely a front for his diverse criminal activities. It was only about a month ago that the man appeared in court prosecuted by you, Lord Benzeeks, but the jury unanimously found him not guilty. Because every member of the jury had been bribed by the sound of it. These powerful London criminals are prepared to go to extreme lengths to keep their freedom. But 2 days ago, on 21st October, Mr. Asman met his end. The work of the Reaper, was it? If that is how your lordship would describe divine retribution. But the fact remains that Mr. Asman's death was a direct result of the actions of the accused, Professor Harebrayne. Very well, then. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the chair, you have been selected at random to represent the will of the people. And are the 6 of you ready to fulfill your societal duty? Okay, let's get ourselves some voices for the new folks.
I'm most gratified to have been selected to carry out this important civic duty, my lord.
Is he supposed to be Edgeworth's ancestor? Probably. Yeah, probably.
Let's see. I'm most gratified to have been selected to carry out this important civic duty, my lord.
Yeah, I think that's a good one for him.
I'm most gratified to have been selected to carry out this important civic duty, my lord.
Sure. 1. Oops. Something else. I think this voice works well for Blonde Lincoln. Yeah. To have a man's fate in the palm of one's hand. Oh gosh, oh golly, it sends shivers down my spine. To have a man's fate in the palm of one's hand. Oh gosh, oh golly, it sends shivers down my spine. That is one long neck. It is. It is. Science experiments, magic, conjuring tricks, courtroom trials, all are nothing more than performances. Science experiments, magic, conjuring tricks, courtroom trials, all are nothing more than performances. Any superior scholar that defiles the reputation of science deserves to hang. No, that's too sort of low class, kind of. Okay, I know he's a magician, but most magicians share such a similar design that it's hard to tell which is which. Yeah. Any superior scholar that defiles the reputation of science deserves to hang. World War II British leader. Any spurious scholar that defiles the reputation of some... No, it's just... No, it just... I feel like he would have, like, a more, like, posh accent. But... Any spurious scholar that defiles the reputation of science deserves to hang. But then again, I just feel like that's... Thought Britain did beheadings, not hangings. I don't know, Bardock. What do you think of that voice that I was doing? Does that work for him? Any spurious scholar that defiles the reputation of science deserves to hang. Does that work for him? Okay. Any spurious scholar that defiles the reputation of science deserves to hang. Yeah, that's sort of like what I do is I take a look at the at the design and I try to think, what voice fits this person? It's good practice for, like, really coming up with a voice really quickly. Which you need to do as a voice actor in a lot of ways. And a lot of times. Hold on, sorry. Dude, I'm literally the same. As what? It's... You mean the voice acting practice? Same as what? We have to listen to what's said on both sides of the fence, because, you know, it's on that one, isn't it? I mean, that is standard practice for voice acting. You have to be able to come up with a voice really quickly. So, you know. Is this... This doesn't look like an adult, right? Well, anyways, and we have to listen to what's said on both sides of the fence, the said on one. That's it, is it? We have to listen to what's said on both sides of the fence and it's said on one. That's it, isn't it? Well, look, all I'll say is that they hadn't, like, in this game, they haven't really figured out how to do the jury yet, because the jury is always extremely biased. Like, always. So, you know, I wouldn't put it past them to just get a literal child on the jury. Same series where we prosecute a parrot, so I'm not going to be surprised if the latter is true. Yeah, that too.
Well, like in my day, wasn't like this at all. Wasn't like this in my day. Wasn't like this at all.
Oh, I remember that old dude. You do? From where? Oh, he was in the trailers when these games were first announced to get localization. Got it. The police killer otter mole lookalike again. And he's as exhausted as ever, it seems. Now, as I'm sure you are all aware, the incident we are here to judge today tragically took place at the Great Exhibition shortly after its opening. The death toll could have been far worse. With the exception of the victim, no one was killed. Nevertheless, the dream of the science being exhibited rapidly turned into a nightmare for the spectators. Tired poses just like him. Tragic turn of events, as such the eyes of all London, now of the whole world, will be on this trial. It is our duty to reach a swift and just conclusion, I feel. So, your opening statement, please, Lord Van Dix. At the heart of this incident is technology never before demonstrated anywhere in the world. Yeah, because, see, the thing was, what happened was... No, it's not over dramatic. Because the thing was, what happened was this invention... Well, first of all, this invention was basically trying to do teleportation. So that's a whole thing in and of itself. But basically, it was happening at this thing, the Great Exhibition, which is something where, like, people from, like... It is a thing that that was described as, like, it is, like, where... like, the brand, like, the newest, most bold steps forward in technology are there. So it is, like, something that the whole world looks at. And this happened there. So, you know. Yeah, the boldest, most, you know, fresh and most daring technological innovations are shown off there. So when a teleportation machine blows up and kills a man, it's big news. That, you know, I mean, it's big news anywhere, but it's especially big news if it happens there, where everyone's looking there to see what the next bold innovation is going to be like, and who's going to make it. It's technology never before demonstrated anywhere in the world. One of science's latest developments, I take it. The government is keen to capitalize on the Great Exhibition to improve Britain's technological advantage. I get it now, I'll be right back. I need to put some dinner in my air fryer. Sounds good. Technology being demonstrated by the accused was described as super high voltage instantaneous kinesis. Good lord! It's designed to disassemble human subjects using extremely high voltage electricity and beam them instantly to another location where they are subsequently reassembled. Is such a thing even within the realms of possibility? Well, I don't believe it, that's for sure. Disassembling people with electricity? My goodness, how shocking. Ah, the whole idea is absurd. The hypothesis would never stand up to scrutiny. Sir, I believe you are a fellow of the Royal Society, are you not? An expert in your field. I am. My word on the matter can be considered final. Instantaneous kinesis is poppycock. So this expert and Mr. Sholmes are in agreement. It's impossible. What is the prosecution's view on the matter? The prosecution would assert that the accused's instantaneous kinesis demonstration was a success. What?
What rot?
Order! Order!
The professor's hypothesis is currently under investigation by the British government. If it is deemed to have merit, a substantial research grant would be made available. The accused made use of the invention built on his new hypothesis to take Mr. Asman's life, in order to be the sole benefactor of the grant.
But...
This disastrous demonstration was no accident. It was carefully designed from the outset to end the life of the victim.
Thank you, Lord Venzix. The prosecution's stance is clear. But you will now bring forth witnesses to substantiate your claims.
Gladly, my lord. Bailiff, show the first witnesses to the stand.
Timers are still going a little bit too quickly, in my opinion. Let's try that. Back, what did I miss? What did you miss? You missed, I think mostly the prosecution's, the prosecution's stance. So they said that, that the accused instantaneous kinesis demonstration was... Oh, well, actually, no, you actually also, missed the description of it. So... At the heart of this incident is technology never before demonstrated anywhere in the world. One of science's latest developments, I take it. The government is keen to capitalize on the Great Exhibition to improve Britain's technological advantage. The technology being demonstrated by the accused was described as super high voltage instantaneous kinesis. Good lord. It's designed to disassemble human subjects using extremely high voltage electricity and then beam them instantly up to another location where they are subsequently reassembled. Judge, is such a thing even within the realms of possibility?
Well, I don't believe it, that's for sure.
Disassembling people with electricity? My goodness, how shocking.
Ah, their idea is absurd. The hypothesis would never stand up to scrutiny.
So, I believe you are a fellow of the Royal Society, are you not? An expert in your field?
I am, and my rule on the matter can be considered final. Instantaneous kinesis is poppycock.
So, this expert and Mr. Sholmes are in agreement. It's impossible. What is the prosecution's view on the matter?
The prosecution would assert that the accused instantaneous kinesis demonstration was a success.
What?
What rot?
Order!
The professor's hypothesis is currently under investigation by the British government. If it is deemed to have merit, a substantial research grant would be made available. The accused made use of the invention built on his new hypothesis to take Mr. Asim's life in order to be the sole benefactor of the grant. But this disastrous demonstration was no accident. It was carefully designed from the outset to end the life of the victim.
Thank you, Lord Manzix. The prosecution's stance is clear, but you will now bring forth witnesses to substantiate your claims.
Gladly, my lord.
Bailiff,
show the first witnesses to stand. Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court.
Yes, sir.
Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector in Scotland Yard's Homicide Division. I was on duty at the demonstration on the day in question and in charge of the following investigation.
Albert Harebrayne, scientist.
You were born in England, but have been carrying out research in Germany in recent years, correct?
Yes, that's right. After graduating from university here in Britain, I went on to work in Germany and made an amazing discovery. Which is what brought me back. I had to demonstrate my incredible hypothesis at the Great Exhibition.
What you demonstrated was incredible, right? An incredible explosion.
But the science was a success. The instantaneous kinesis worked. Everyone saw it. They must have done. Yes, there was the terrible accident, but well, the demonstration of my hypothesis was a success.
Well, that much is undeniable, as shared in this photograph taken by the forensic investigation team.
Another man with a great mustache. Yes, indeed. This was taken inside the Crystal Tower, I take it. The centerpiece of the exhibition, no less.
That's right, my lord. Seems a victim rammed straight into it. Seems a victim...
Anyways. I see. Very well. Submit the photograph as evidence. Photograph the victim has been entered the court record. Photograph the victim taken after he is sensibly had been beamed to the Crystal Tower. It shows an apparent stab wound to the chest.
As the court said, the victim of the incident was Mr. Odie Asman. There have been a number of allegations made against the man, putting them aside for the time being. He was the man who financed the research for the experiment and the demonstration itself.
I love the sound effects of these series. Like what? Like what? I see. Say, to summarize the situation, the defendant is accused of taking the life of the man who funded his work. Would that be correct? I'm so glad they never truly changed since GBA original. Yeah, there's a lot that's really remained very consistent. Actually, one of the things that's, like, it's weird for me is that, like, this is one of the most, like, three-dimensional games in the series. Like, there's a lot more, like, movement and stuff. It's a lot less limited than usual. That's when the dialogue plays, that's how when you find evidence, that's how when you select something. Got it. Got it. Yeah. But anyways, it's like, it feels weird for, like, this much movement, this much fluidity, this much environment in this game, because it's just, like, really always been so limited, and to some extent, much of that was intentionally so, because it was mimicking the original, right? As for looks, yeah, it's 3D, but I don't mind. No, I don't mind it. It just feels a little off because I'm so used to it being very limited. Exactly. But couldn't it be that the explosion was caused by some malfunction in the apparatus used for the demonstration? That's right! That must be it, my splendid machine! My poor, splendid machine! You saw it yesterday, didn't you? We can't even examine the wreckage thanks to the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act. What? The wreckage? The wreckage? But that being the case, how can the facts be established? How could it possibly be determined whether this was an accident or a deliberate and malicious act? I think they emulated the animation style of Ace Attorney in 3D very well, in my opinion. Yeah, like, you know, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm really not. It's just, like, a little off-putting because of what I'm used to. Like, but the models are good. The models are good, and like everything's really good. It really is. And I would say that it's probably, like, it's a lot better. It's just the reason the fluid movements can be a bit off is because it's like I'm so used to the movements being very limited, and to some extent intentionally, because they had to be, and that became a defining feature of the game, was the iconic poses and stuff. Not the same as, say, how Pokemon shift from 2D to 3D was. That was a bit jarring. Yeah. No, I agree. Anyways. Extremely simply, my lord. I beg your pardon. Isn't that right, witness? What? Sorry, me! It took a while to finally look good. Yeah. No, your neighbor. Well, have you ever played Spectrobes? Because Spectrobes sort of did 3D creature collection really well long before Pokemon got there. It was sort of like, it was, yeah, so Spectrobes, super underrated series. There ended up being only 3 games, because they weren't nearly as successful as Disney wanted them to be. And yes, they were made by Disney Interactive. But anyways, they were really interesting and cool. Like, they were kind of like they were trying to operate the same space as Pokemon in terms of, like, creature collection and stuff like that. But at the same time, like, it wasn't just another Pokemon ripoff, which was really nice. Like, there are a lot of, like, Pokemon competitors that are basically just Pokemon, but, like, Spectrobes had a whole other angle to it. No pun intended, it being 3D. But, like, it was really cool. There was a lot more, there was a lot of, like, really cool lore and stuff. There was a lot more character work. But the biggest difference is that instead of catching the creatures, you would dig for them. They were fossils, and you would have to excavate them and then bring them to life. It was just really, like, a really cool idea. The first two games were on the DS, and then the third game was on the Wii. The game on the Wii was like a huge jump. Like the second game on the DS felt like, okay, this is like a natural progression where they like really took a lot of the stuff that was in the first game and honed it. And then the one on the Wii was just like, oh my god, this is like completely different. But it still had like some of the similar things, but it was just really different. It was really good, but it was really different. But anyways, they were really good, and I highly recommend those games. They really feel like one of the few like Pokemon competitors that really tried to do its own thing. And really succeeded at doing its own thing. But it just was not able to hit the heights of Pokemon because Pokemon is literally the most profitable franchise in the world. And that's not an exaggeration. Just like from a purely financial standpoint, Pokemon is the most successful franchise in the entire world. But yeah, anyways, really good games. Really good games.
Yes, sir. It was murder, plain and simple. Anyone could stake that with complete satire.
What? How can he possibly think that? Yet Game Freaks still can't use that money to properly polish their mainline games. Yeah, well... if they can count on the games to sell, why do they need to put in the time to make them work, right? Unfortunately.
Thank you, Inspector. I think we'd better proceed to formal testimony. You will explain to the court on what grounds you claim this experiment to have been a front for murder.
Front for murder.
Corpse that went crashing through the crystal tower had a broken neck. I made a minor miscalculation in the angle of the beam projection. That's all. That was my mistake. But the post-mortem examination revealed another injury, a fatal wound. There was a lesion in his chest where he'd clearly been stabbed by something sharp right in the heart. So the victim was killed before he went anywhere, and this fellow's the only one who could have done it.
Like, we had the Gen 4 remakes, which were not that good, Legends Arceus, which was amazing, and Scarlet and Violet, all in the span of around a year. That's 3 mainline games. Yeah, well... again, if every single one they can count on to sell really well, pushing out more appears on the surface to be a good idea. From a purely business numbers perspective, I'm not saying it was smart, I'm not saying it was good, but it made sense from a purely numbers perspective that didn't take into account feelings or people or any of that stuff. That is kind of an important part, but from a purely numbers perspective, it's like, if it makes money, let's put out more of it, right? And if we put it out quicker, we can... True, but Scarlet Violet was like a disaster of release despite the great sales. It made Security Breach look like The Last of Us in comparison. No, I understand that, but like, you have to realize, right? They had great sales, and that is literally all this company cares about. That's all like Nintendo cares about. That would be all Disney cares about. That would be all anyone cares about in terms of these corporations. All they care about is the numbers. If they sold, which they did, that is all that matters. That's going to bite them in the ass eventually. It's true. And, you know, yeah, it's true. Things catch up to people. They just do. There's only a certain amount of trust you can break. But, you know. Plus, Nintendo isn't against delaying games if necessary. Look at Animal Crossing, New Leaf, and Prime 4. Yeah. I think, like, the thing about Pokemon is it's, like, owned by multiple people. Or, not people, but multiple companies. You have to look into it. I don't know the details off the top of my head. But I think it's, like, it's not just a Nintendo thing. It's, like, the rights are split, I think. It's a little bit of a weird situation, but I don't remember the whole thing. An extraordinary business. In addition to suffering a broken neck, the victim was stabbed in the heart. Information I would really like to have heard from someone other than the judge. The coroner says death would have been all but instant from a wound like that. You could say, in fact, that the victim was killed twice by the accused. No, that couldn't be farther from the truth. I have here an experiment plan document that was submitted to the security team. Why someone other than the judge specifically? Because the fact that he heard it from the judge means he heard it in the middle of the court session, when, like, which is long after, rather, he wasn't able to be aware of this information before it was literally said to him by the judge in the middle of the court session. Yeah. The victim stored himself inside something called the bird cage, ready to be beamed instantly. I'd be pissed too then. Yeah, well. To the second level of the Crystal Tower, about 25 yards away. Experiment did not go according to... Oh, sorry. The experiment did not go according to plan, however. I hate being told important details like that at the last minute, especially if it wasn't necessary to do so. Yeah, so, but, you know, as I'm sure you know, part of the gameplay loop of Ace Attorney games is that you are not allowed to prepare properly. You don't know all the information before you go into the trial. That's just how it works. As the machine was put into operation, there was a large explosion. The blast caused the beam transmitter to point higher than intended. Accordingly, the kinesis resulted in the birdcage materializing in midair, from where it subsequently fell, crashing through the glass of the Crystal Tower's large round window. My word! One assumes the victim's neck was broken upon impact with the tower, then. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. The machine is just way too powerful. But honestly, really, I swear, it was just an accident, a terrible accident. Unfortunately, that excuse can't save you. No, not considering the sharp murder weapon that pierced the victim's arm. Murder weapon? What are you saying? This is the autopsy report submitted by the coroner. The prosecution would like it entered into the court record. Your request is granted, counsel. The autopsy report has been entered into the court record. The autopsy report of the victim, Mr. Asman, his neck was broken from the impact of a violent fall, and he was stabbed in the chest with a sharp object. It's a miracle we still win despite that. I mean, not exactly. It's not a miracle. Because it's a video game, so we get to try as many times as we like. Voice memos, voice memos.
I was there in person, you know. I saw the whole ludicrous performance. And the only other person on the stage with Mr. Aspen was the disgraceful excuse for a scientist.
Then really, by all accounts, it must have been him. Then really, by all accounts, it must have been him.
Hard to think otherwise, really.
Very well, counsel for the events, proceed with the cross-examination, please. Oh, yes, my lord. I need to focus here. It's been a while.
Hold it!
Are you suggesting that's because he fell from a considerable height?
Exactly. Which highlights something else about this old run business.
What's that?
The fact that the instantaneous kinesis itself was a success.
Ah!
After the explosion, the cage with the fit inside suddenly appeared out of nowhere in midair.
So although the experiment ended in disaster, the so-called instantaneous kinesis did actually occur.
Remind us, Professor, what was the cause of the fatal disaster?
Wait a minute, did they actually sue Phoenix's line? What do you mean? Did they actually sue Phoenix Lines? That hold it is the exact same one Phoenix has in the DS game. Oh, use, not, got it. So, I mean, there are a lot of parallels between Ryanosuke and Phoenix. Intentionally so. Like, they're very, very close to one another in terms of characterization and everything. So, you know. I don't know if it's, like, exactly the same, but it's, like, in terms of the actual, like, voice recording, I assume not. But even if, like, the voice recording wasn't the same, it would make sense that the voice actor for Ryanosuke, if it's not the same voice actor for Phoenix, which I don't think it is, but I don't know, would mimic Phoenix's Hold It. But I don't know.
Hold it!
So the angle of projection is critical, is it? And you calculated it yourself, personally? Absolutely! The calculation is far too complicated for anybody but me to carry out.
Only you got it wrong, didn't you?
Yes, that's right. That's the point. The calculation is so complicated, even I can make a mistake. Do people fall for that brazen confidence? I should try it. I took into account the subject's height and weight, the wind direction, and the ambient temperature. I considered every possible variable, so I just don't understand how this could have happened. Obviously, then you had to include the weight of the clothes Mr. Aspen was wearing at the time, I suppose? Ah! Crackling comets! The answer should have been 3! So much for safety first. 3 must be for safety third.
Hold it!
Another fatal injury, you say? That doesn't make any sense.
I didn't think I'd have to spell this out, but here we go. Just because there were 2 fatal wounds doesn't mean I'm saying the victim had 2 lives to lose, does it?
Too right.
Obviously, at first, we thought the bloke had died due to his spine snapping in half as well.
But you're saying that's not the case?
You'll get your answer once I finish my fish and chips if you open your bottom here every few seconds.
But we all know that's a bottomless bag.
The victim plummeted 30 feet into a glass tower. It would be reasonable to assume that as the cause of death. Right, that's what we all thought, but it was a red herring, wasn't it?
Hold it! defense knew nothing of this crucial information.
The prosecution received this report from the forensic investigation team only this morning. That was the first we knew of it as well. I can only apologize for the impossibility of informing the defense.
Sarcastic and insincere. Thanks. So, what was the nature of this sharp object?
Among the accused tools that were in use at the demonstration, one is of particular interest.
This. Ah, yes, that would appear to be some kind of screwdriver, wouldn't it, Count? Ah! Oh, there he is! My trusty little companion, Andrew! Andrew. Of course. Do you know each other already? He's one of my dear friends, like all my tools. I've named them all, you know, we're one big happy family. Andrew is my flathead screwdriver, of course. His brother Michael is a crosshead. Well, it would appear that your beloved Andrew has a red stain on his shank. Huh? That isn't...
It's blood, beyond all reasonable doubt.
No.
And that's not all. The long, sharp shape of this Andrew fellow is completely consistent with the victim's wound.
What? What? Order! The court will enter this friend of the defendant as evidence. Professor Harebrayne's trusty screwdriver that he's named Andrew. There are traces of blood at the tip, and it matches the shape of the victim's wound. So one of Professor Harebrayne's tools is the murder weapon. Great.
So the victim was killed before we went anywhere.
Hold it! What grounds do you have for saying that?
Ah! You really need to ask. There were only 2 people on the public experimentation stage in front of the whole crowd.
I'm back with dinner. I'm looking forward to dinner after I finish streaming. Because I am hungry. But that'll be in about 40 minutes, so... I'll have to last until then.
The victim, Mr. Odie Asman.
What pun is that? Odiasman? 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 I don't know. Anyways. I'm not really very good at putting together a lot of the pun names, honestly. Like, I'm just not very good at that for some reason. At some point I want to, like, look up just, like, a list of, like, what all the puns are, so that I can see, like, which ones I've missed. The victim, an accused, Harebrayne. We know for certain that before the experiment, the victim was alive.
That's right, I saw him with my own 2 eyes.
Furthermore, following the explosion and kinesis, nobody went anywhere near the body.
In other words, only someone else on stage with the victim could possibly have done it.
Excuse me!
Professor Harebrayne, do you have some information that may be relevant here? Professor! Ah! Sorry! I was just calculating the optimum coefficient of electrolysis to separate molecules in the human body. And the witness stand is the best place for that? That excuse me definitely sounds different. Yeah, so he does have some different things. Because he's a little bit, like, too polite. Like, he's a little, like, he lacks a lot of confidence. Like, he is very, very, very lacking in confidence. So he has some lines of dialogue that are, you know, that mirror Phoenix's, and some that are specific to his personality that is so lacking in confidence. Yeah, it's a little bit cute. Seems as though you might have something to say about Inspector Gregson's last remark. Yes, yes, that's right, of course. Sorry, ADHD, got distracted. He just said that nobody else could have done it, didn't he?
Yeah, it's right. Who else could have stabbed the victim, eh?
I don't know, but there's no way that I could possibly have stabbed her husband, as you say.
Eh?
Explain, please, Professor. Of course, his cold-hearted policeman may not be aware, I suppose. But humans are warm-blooded mammals with blood running continuously through their veins.
I had heard.
And surely you see, if I'd plunged something the size of Andrew into the man's chest, the whole stage would have been a bloodbath, no, a blood swimming pool. Huh? But thousands of Londoners were watching me at the time. And yet not one of them claims to have seen a swimming pool of blood.
Well, no, I suppose not.
You see, not one.
True. I didn't see anything like that.
What's that? It was like...
It's in the palm of one's... And he spurs his skull that follows the rib.
True, I didn't see anything like that.
Well done, Professor. That was a great counter-argument. Order, order!
Pray forgive the discourtesy if I save a drop from my hallowed chalice to accompany my old friend's adducing. Here's to you, Albert.
Oh, you're too kind, Barrack. But I'm really not a patch on you. The fluid... I will admit that the hammer slam thing doesn't hit the same as it did in the DS games. The fluidity kind of kills it for me. Kills it to me. Yeah, well... there is something that I do like, which I'm sure you'll see, which is that when he gets it wrong, or I guess when I get it wrong, when he slams the desk, it's... Oh, the judge hammer. Got it. Oh, got it. But I, sorry. Well, I'll keep saying what I was gonna say. It was more talking about Ryanosuke's, you know, slamming the desk like Phoenix does, like all lawyers do. But anyways, something that he does that I really like, that is again like another thing about his confidence, is that like when I get something wrong and he slams his hands on the desk, he's like it doesn't like he does it like not quite hard enough or whatever, and it's like a little awkward because he doesn't really make a big sound. He just sort of like fumbles it. And it's a really great, like, character thing. No, you said hammer, and I skipped over the word hammer. I just read, like, the slam. And there's, of course, some real iconic slams in Ace Attorney. But I skipped over the word hammer for some reason. So you were specific enough, I just missed a word.
No, you're not. You've neglected to mention one crucial possibility.
I have?
A particular situation in which very little bleeding would result from a stab wound.
Ah, of course.
Inspector, enlighten the court, please.
Yes, sir. Where are they going with this? Very well. You will amend your formal testimony now, Inspector Gregson.
What the victim was stabbed with must have been left in his body whilst he was being through the air.
Hold on. I'm gonna save. Why would you think that, Inspector?
Well, they would. It's only when you pull the weapon out with them profuse bleeding occurs. Once it's still lodged in the body, it acts as a stopper of sorts, for want of a better word.
I see.
You don't need a medical degree to be aware of this fact. It's common knowledge of any investigator.
Ugh, where's Susato-san when you need her?
If you ask me, this bloke masked what he was doing from view with his body before stabbing his man in the chest. Then he beamed the victim off the stage with his fancy device, screwdriver still where he put in it.
I would never do such a thing, not to my precious tools. I would never use them for such dirty work. You only use tools for their intended purpose. That's common knowledge for any scientist.
The fact remains the lack of blood at the scene can easily be explained, as the prosecution has demonstrated.
So that's all the testimony I have to work with. I had no idea the victim had been stabbed. That changes everything. Did Van Zieks keep that to himself until now on purpose to gain the advantage? Oh well, I suppose all I can do is press these witnesses for as much new information as possible. I think I know what to do. This is blood. Mr. Asmund's, no doubt. This is the problem with looking at murder weapons. I've seen this unusually shaped handle before. It's the same screwdriver that was lodged in the grill on the floor of the kinesis machine, which could be important information, so I should definitely make a note of it. A metal screwdriver that was found poking through the grill in the base of what remains of the kinesis machine. It has a very distinctive handle. There we go. That ought to do it.
Objection!
You say that while the weapon remains in the body, there's very little bleeding. Is that unequivocal?
Look, there was no blood on the experimentation stage, even though that's where the fellow was stabbed. The only explanation for that is if the screwdriver was still in his body, stopping any heavy bleeding. It's common medical knowledge, my learned friend, even on your side of the world.
Such a missed opportunity to call it a screwdriver. Because the thing looks like an A. I like that it's called Andrew. I like that. Yes, but about the screwdriver. The thing is, we actually saw it at the scene ourselves, on the experimentation stage.
What?
It was on the floor by the wreckage of the machine, poking through a metal grill. I went to pick it up, but the detective here stopped me. Isn't that right, Inspector Gregson?
Now you come to mention it, yes.
Inspector, we understand that you permitted the defense counsel to investigate. That you contravened the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act.
No! Not all. I wouldn't do that. I just let him look, nothing more. I was very clear he wasn't to touch a thing.
Yes, that's true. This screwdriver was in plain sight on the stage. But it shouldn't have been, should it?
What are you getting at?
Does Rinosuke actually use that katana of his, or is it just for show? So, it's neither. Exactly. So, the thing is that what happened was the first case in the first game, the assistant we had was Rinosuke's best friend, Kazuma. And the thing is that he was the one who initially wanted to be a lawyer, and this was his katana. He then was selected to go to Britain for like a special like thing. It was a whole special thing. Anyways, the point is that on the ship, on the way over, he died. There was a whole whole fiasco. But he died, and he said to Ranosuke once that a Japanese man's katana is his soul. So when Ranosuke decided to fulfill his role, to fulfill Kazuma's role as a lawyer and learn the law and try and fulfill his mission in Britain, he also holds his katana, because it's like having Kazuma with him, kind of. It's something that was special to Kazuma, and now he takes care of it. And so, yeah. Yeah, anyways, it's a sentimental thing. He doesn't use it, but it's not just for show.
What are you getting at?
If this tool had still been in the victim's body when the victim was beamed away by the machine, then it shouldn't have still been on the stage. Ah! That's right. It should have been beamed across to the Crystal Tower along with Mr. Asman, and been found still lodged in the victim's chest. Ah.
Order! How do you explain this, Inspector? What? I do.
It looks as though everything that the victim had on his person moved with him when he was beamed. If the screwdriver was still in his chest when the instantaneous kinesis occurred, obviously that should have been beamed to the destination as well. This is a strange situation. Even though people are saying that this instantaneous kinesis is a scientific impossibility, we're still basing arguments on the assumption that it did actually take place. Alright, time to tighten the screws here. Anyways, did I do a decent job explaining that, Bardock? The whole katana thing? My lord, if the prosecution is unable to explain this inconsistency in its argument, we can only conclude that testimony given in support cannot be relied upon. Lord Van Zeeks is stumped. Yes, he did. Thanks, Helen. Good.
Do you have something to say with this?
Yes, I knew it! It bears out. The equations hold. This is Otto. Don't worry! About what? Was that pain? No. No. Although in Japan, there's so in both games, the first case that you do is in Japan, and both times it is against Pain's ancestor. But no, I guess that was Harebrayne.
Without delving into the details, there is no inconsistency.
What?
Even if Andrew had been lodged in Mr. Asman's chest, my trusty tool wouldn't have moved. Andrew remaining on the stage is consistent with my calculations.
What? You fucking idiot! Ah! Why? Well, I guess we're still going for the whole truth, so I guess it would be good to make sure we were going off true information. But it's still frustrating to have been like, here is this fantastic point, and like, actually, the science says that actually I could have killed him like this. And I totally could have gotten away with it. It's like, that's not helpful, man. But it is better to have the whole truth. So, at least we're getting that. Filter was just screens, so it's certainly something. Yeah, well, it would seem that your illusions have been shattered. Clearly, we should hear the accused's explanation. Or should I say, this brilliant scientist's explanation. Just when I'd found an inconsistency in the prosecution's argument. Scientists. Very well, the defendant will testify again. Provide us with the scientific explanation as to why the inconsistency asserted by the defense fails to hold. In the name of Apollo, I will, my lord. Or, yeah. The inconsistency explained. To be clear, I'm still at the stage of gathering data in my research. My hypothesis states that kinesis cannot transport metal, though. Hence, the metal weapon would have stayed put. In other words, the point just raised by Mr. Hardo isn't an inconsistency at all. Mr. Asman was the patron of my research. Without him, my work wouldn't have been possible. Now I have a duty to protect the incredible machine that we built together. Apollo? Oh, the Greek god Apollo. Yeah. So, the thrust of your testimony, Professor, is that based upon his hypothesis, metal objects cannot be moved by this method of instantaneous kinesis. Hold on. I would like to check something. He has glasses on. Metal. Like, there's some metal on this guy. Oh, by the way, we should probably just, like, take a look at these. Looks like layers of thick canvas with a thick rubber lining of sorts. I've never seen anything like it before. But applying Mr. Sholmes' methods, you might deduce it was part of a raincoat worn by someone who really, really didn't want to get wet. And the charring must have occurred when the person was struck by lightning. Or maybe not. Okay, you can't look at anything there, I guess. I'm back with water. Cool. Reaper attacked. It's the kingpins of the criminal underworld generally managing to escape conviction in the Reaper trials. Man, it took a while. Hope we can take the air out of the sink canes soon. The sink canes? What? This isn't the first time their henchmen have tried to attack Lord Van Zieks as a result by the sound of it. Makes you think if that's how the justice system works in London, then there must be dark forces at work. We got a new sink water thing. I don't know what they're called. A faucet? Is that what you mean? A faucet? But yeah, we got a new one during the change. A lot of air got through the water tube, so the water is coming out very slowly. Ah. Let's see, I think so. It's the nozzle, right? Like the nozzle? Where the water comes out? Details of victim: name, Odiesman, now age 47, nationality British, time of death 21st October, around 2... Yes, that's it. Yeah, so there's the nozzle, and then there's sort of the faucet itself, and then there's the sink, which is the part underneath. That's wait for cause of death: hemorrhage of a wound to the chest that pierced the heart, inflicted by a sharp implement. Additional observations: broken vertebra, most likely resulting from impact at central height. Okay. Man, English classes for me really didn't tell me the stuff I needed to know. What you gonna do? You learn, right? That based upon his hypothesis, metal objects cannot be moved by this method of instantaneous kinesis. In other words, since the screwdriver is made of metal, even if it remained lodged in the victim's chest, its subsequent discovery on the stage, despite the victim being found elsewhere, is not an inconsistency. And therefore, Professor Albert Harebrayne could still have been the killer. My great hypothesis holds, you see! We had to make the cage used to contain the subject from wood for that very reason. I was not addressing you with this. Professor Harebrayne. Yes? Whose side are you on here? I don't take sides, Mr. Otto. No. My only interest lies in upholding my hypothesis. I'm a scientist, after all. Is he working for us or against us? It's very hard to tell. Well, he's neutral. All he cares about is making sure that the science was right. It is right. Do you want to live or not? Again, it's just not... It's like, his priorities are a little bit... His priority is the science. It just is. It's just who he is. Let's see how you cross-examine this testimony of my Nibonese friend. Yes, fire away, Miss Otto. Mr. Otto. This is old Britain. Public executions are horrifying in those times. Yeah. To be clear, I'm still at the stage... Oh, right, Hold it! And yet, your retort to my argument wasn't lacking in confidence in any way. No scientist can find the truth without first finding self-belief. Those were the words of a certain scientist I hold in the very highest esteem. But you realize that disproving my argument puts you in a very precarious position, don't you? No scientist should strive to protect himself more than he strives to protect the truth. More words of the same great scientist, you know. Words that are causing me a lot of trouble. Who is this scientist? I'm afraid I couldn't tell you, Miss Otto. But as soon as I remember the magnificent genius's name, you'll be the first to know. It might be worth keeping the names of your idols to mind. And people love watching a public execution back in the day. It was very messed up. See, there was a really interesting video I watched on sort of like modern sort of cancel culture and stuff, which I know it's a whole mess of a topic, but essentially there is a sort of modern form of, it's not execution, but it's a modern form of public shaming. You know, it's public shaming, and it's the same sort of spectacle. of punishment, a spectacle of punishment, you know? Spectacle of we want someone to hurt. Again, very hard not to feel bad for Renosuke as well as defense attorneys in these scenarios. I mean, it's worth noting, right, that in real life, it's, like, none of this works the same way. Like, defense attorneys are not always the good guys, right? Like, just because they're defending people, like, they will, like, in real life, people will defend people who are guilty. Like, just to be very clear. Like, so don't apply this to real life. Don't apply any of the law, any of the court, any of that stuff. Don't apply any of it to real life. But if you want to feel bad for Renosuke, absolutely do that, because he's a long-suffering guy. He's long-suffering. Oh, for this series. Got it. I thought you meant defense attorneys, like, in general. You're wasting your breath, my learned friend. This Harebrayne even forgets my name at times. So Lord Van Zieks really did have a friend once, but I didn't notice hell freezing over.
Hold it!
Your hypothesis states it, so this isn't proven then. No, of course not. It's merely a hypothesis, but a good one based on thousands of calculations. But it is widely known that metals can't be decomposed by whatever. Yes, of course. So I am right. My hypothesis is clearly correct. Oh god, no, I don't want to get involved in real-life court orders. Oh yeah, for sure. What is it about incriminating himself that makes this man so happy? Well, it's not the incriminating himself, it's the science of it. It's the whole reason the birdcage is made of wood, you see. Sorry, the birdcage. Yes, that's what I call the C. obtusa cage in which Mr. Asmund was placed for the crisis. Ah, the jail cell in which the victim was detained. So it does indeed seem to be made of a timber of some sort. Thank you not to refer to it as an instrument of incarnation, your lordship. In short, any weapon lodged from the victim when he was beaten away by instantaneous kinesis would have been left behind on the stage if it was made of metal, correct? Yes, that's it! Yes, it all fits perfectly with the mathematical model. But the ultimate conclusion, then, is that the defendant alone had the opportunity to inflict this fatal injury on the victim, is it not? Ah, indeed, sir. Someone beam me out of this nightmare.
Hold it!
You seem to be pleased by that. Yes, another example of my hypothesis holding true. But I sense some sarcasm, Bastardo. Are you not pleased? No! I knew it. At the end of the day, I'm the one responsible for Mr. Asmund losing his life. The advancements of science is no excuse, I know that. No, you're quite right. Tell the court, did you have a close relationship with Mr. Asmund? Oh, well, no, not really. I'd only met him 2 or 3 times. And we only ever discussed my hypothesis of the project. And the research grant, of course.
Hold it!
How did you come to know Mr. Asmund in the first place? A year ago now, a small provincial science journal published a little paper about my work. That's a scientific journal. Good gracious, I should need new spectacles. I might have had an extraordinary hypothesis and great promise, but at the time, I had no money. I had to eat tiny little meals at a tiny little cafe and drink watered-down water out of a tiny little glass. But Mr. Asmund read the paper and came to visit me on my tiny little laboratory. And offered you money to help fund your work. Looks like a fucking trading card, yeah. Exactly, that's exactly what happened. I handled the theoretical side of things, and Mr. Asmund provided me with an engineer for the practical. and the three of us produced that fantastic machine together. Wait, 3 of you? The machine that you brought to the great exhibition to demonstrate. But we had to apply to the government for some sort of inspection to be allowed to exhibit, I think. I didn't understand all that side of things. Mr. Asman took care of all of it. He was a wonderful man. Really, I owe him everything.
Hold it!
When you say that you built the machine together, does that mean you were involved in its construction? Yes! Well, not exactly. I'm not good with the practical side of machines myself, so the physical construction was done by an engineer. Little remains of your creation now, though, following the explosion. Repair will no doubt be impossible. Yes, I realize that. But still, if someone were to gather all the broken parts, they could discover the secret of my hypothesis. This Aspen, I toiled over that machine for so long, we put our hearts and souls into it. I had to protect our work. So what's left of the machine must be kept safe, that's only fair, because what happened was an accident. That's the extent of the testimony, then. Thank goodness for that. I don't want him doing any more damage. He's already basically proven that he could have been the culprit. But it seems as though all he really cares about is defending his hypothesis. Still, I wonder, what if his hypothesis is just fundamentally flawed?
Objection!
Professor Harebrayne, you say that according to your hypothesis, nothing made of metal can be beamed by instantaneous kinesis using the machine you made. Is that right? Yes, that's right. Spot on. Exactly correct. In that case, I'd ask you to have a look at this photograph that was taken at the scene. I was right. In particular, I'd like you to pay attention to the victim's face. You can clearly see that Mr. Asman is wearing a pair of spectacles with a metal rim. I was right. My hypothesis was right. What? Metal? No. Metal cap. That's not... No! We've already established that the proposed murder weapon, the screwdriver, was found on the stage. However, if your hypothesis correctly predicted that outcome, it should also have predicted that the metal-rimmed spectacles would be found in the same place. Ah! My hypothesis! My hypothesis! Professor Harebrayne, this isn't easy for me to say, but your hypothesis is clearly flawed. Order! 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 Counsel, what is the implication of this? If, on the day in question, the alleged instantaneous kinesis never actually took place, then it's entirely possible that the victim was killed somewhere other than the stage, on the stage. And in that case, someone other than the defendant could have been the culprit. But my hypothesis is sound! I proved it that day. The experiment was a success. The experiment was proof of all my work.
If I could say something here in my capacity as a fellow of the Royal Society.
Yes, John, number 4, go ahead.
As a man of science, there's one thing I simply cannot abide. That's a fraud who pretends to be a fellow man of science.
What? What? Great Scott, are you suggesting my science is suspect?
It's just been disproved, hasn't it? In from all of us. In other words, the whole demonstration was complete nonsense from start to finish. Believe me, my fellow Jazz, when I tell you that this man is a heel, a bounder, and a fraud. I say the record of that machine should be stripped down and thoroughly examined.
No, never! That machine is the essence of my entire hypothesis! It's protected by the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act. What the devil is that blasted act all about? Hey, who made up such a daft rule? Is that the voice I gave him? Oh no.
What the devil is that blasted act all about, eh? Who made up such a daft rule?
I don't like the way this seems to be going. It's the best way for me to help the professor. Maybe I should watch and wait for the time being.
My feeling is that the machine requires a thorough examination.
Thorough. Hold on.
A thorough examination.
What is this special dispensation that's been mentioned? Oh gosh, this is all too much.
If it's determined that the machine itself was the murder weapon, I think you'll find that act won't apply.
Of course it was the murder weapon. Anyone can see that plain as day.
So we're all in agreement, are we? That the machine should be stripped.
If I don't do something, they'll...
Objection!
Professor Harebrayne has yet to perfect his invention. That would seem to be the case, yes. But even so...
Even so, what?
Going to such trouble and expense to create a fake machine to display in public, you would have absolutely no reason to do such a thing.
Objection!
He had an obvious reason to do exactly that. For the research grant money.
Ah!
If the government was foolish enough to have deemed the man's ridiculous station plausible, he and his conspirators would have received a handsome sum indeed.
Conspirators? What would be the value of such a grant? £10?
You're an order of magnitude out, madam. £500 a year.
Oh, you can live handsome on that for years. You could have lived handsome on that much for years. That's not the voice I gave her, them, I don't know.
Oh, we have to listen.
How you could live handsome on that much for years.
Scientists noticed an increase in bogus public demonstrations in the field of science recently. And there's plenty of scientists arguing with each other to get the largest slice of the funding cake. People's greed is plenty motive enough for murder, I assure you.
No, I haven't deceived anyone, least of all the government. My hypothesis is sound, the science is sound, please, you must believe me.
Objection!
No matter how unbelievable this hypothesis may seem to you, ladies and gentlemen, the fact remains that the victim was transported instantly to the Crystal Tower. Which means that the experiment was a success.
Ah, Varric!
And therefore, the only person who could possibly have committed this murder is the accused. Ah, Barrack.
Where is this heading? I have no idea.
My lord, if I may.
Yes, Lord Vadzix?
The prosecution would like to summon new witnesses to the stand.
New witnesses? What would be the nature of their involvement?
They were spectators of the demonstration at the exhibition, who were occupying special seats.
Eyewitnesses. Very well. The court grants the prosecution's request. I should very much like to hear from eyewitnesses to the incident.
The prosecution's stance is clear. This experiment was no pastiche. The accused killed the financier victim there on the public stage before the very eyes of the spectators. Now, my learned friend...
Oh, yes?
It's time for you to make your own stance clear.
There's clearly a flaw in the professor's hypothesis. I could definitely see that. But where does that leave me? We shall take a short recess now, during which time the prosecution will prepare its new witnesses to take the stand.
As you wish, my lord.
Good. In that case, court is adjourned for 20 minutes. And that's where we're going to stop for tonight. Thanks for hanging out for so long, Bardock. It was great to have you here. It was really nice being able to chat with folks. And Sarah, it was great to have you earlier on. And to everyone else who was or wasn't here, thank you as well. And I hope to see you all around a little bit more in future streams. For now, have a lovely evening, morning, time zone, wherever you are, and I will see you. Bye-bye.